out of his comfort zone because he's from North Louisiana and he had a professional football team. And he prayerfully considered what to do with that football team and ultimately came to a place he was familiar with but wasn't that familiar with, and he did so stepping out in faith because he believed it would be good for his franchise. I can assure you that he did so in prayer. He's a gentleman who has a great background in broadcasting. He's done a marvelous job in that capacity. In addition to that, he's been a servant of the communities that he's lived in and the things that matter most in his life. He's a football guy and he loves football. Family, his wife Marianne and their children, grandchildren, are 1A in his life, but of course the most important thing in his life is his faith in Jesus Christ. He's the owner of the New Orleans VooDoo, the arena football team here in New Orleans. Please give a warm welcome to our first speaker to share here this morning, Mr. Dan Newman. Dan?
Got to quickly say, as Ken was talking about numbers, ours unfortunately were 3 and 15. That's going to change. Thank you so much for being here this morning. It's a great honor for me to not only be here with you today, but to be part of the New Orleans community. I'm a South Louisiana native, grew up in Lafayette. Like many, went elsewhere to college and met the dream girl, who was a North Louisiana girl, and we settled down up there. This is where we always come for vacation. We come a whole lot more often now, and it's not a vacation, but we're having a lot of fun. It's kind of ironic. My pastor, who you'll meet, some of you already know, Denny Duran, I went to him for counsel when we started thinking about making this move south. And the first thing he said was, "You're going to change the name, aren't you?" And I laid out the facts for him in the 24-year history of the Arena Football League. The logo, Bones, and I know you know who he is. He's a cool skull guy with sunglasses. It tested higher than any other Arena Football League team name, and that logo also. Not to mention that in 2008, people of New Orleans sold out every VooDoo football game in the New Orleans Arena. So when I shared that with my pastor, he said, "You can't change the name, you have to leave it there." 2 days after we announced, I was on the radio show here, Ken Trahan and Michael Green's radio show, and I had to explain to them how a Christian guy could keep a football team named the VooDoo. And my answer was, if Greg Gibson can own all the Hooters in Louisiana, I can own the VooDoo football. Seriously, we had a lot of fun this year, and I look around the room and there are season ticket holders here. I promise you, we will be better. And we started that process a couple of weeks ago by announcing Pat O'Hara as a new head coach. You'll hear a lot about him. Great guy, a lot of football history, family man. He fits in the mold of our organization. And speaking of our organization, a couple of people here I want to recognize. John Norris, our general manager. John, stand up. Wave again. Kind of an interesting side note, he played in the NFL for the New England Patriots and the Chicago Bears, and he had 1 interception in the NFL and a couple of sacks, and the interception was of John Forcade. Also here is our Director of Media Relations, a Rummel guy who just got accepted into, what do you call it, your master's degree at UNO? We stole him away from Nicholls State, Brandon Rizzuto. You know, we're in a real tough time in the nation, and it really troubles me, as I'm sure it does many of you, as we watch this path we're going down on a national basis. And it's not just something that's just happened. It's something that has developed over a generation. I don't understand why people don't honor their word, why they don't follow through on commitments. And I've never understood it. And when I try to figure it out, I think it goes back to a couple of things. There is an atmosphere that we're living in that's permeating every level of our society, our churches, our schools, our businesses, politically. And it's one where we settle. Now, there are those that will say compromise is good, that compromise is necessary, and probably to a degree that's true. But when it comes to values and what we put out there as who we are and why we do the things that we do, I don't think we should compromise. In Matthew 5, Jesus kind of broke down the philosophy, and I'll be real quick because these next two guys you don't want to miss. These are pillars of what I'm talking about this morning. Jesus came and said, I didn't come to change the law, the Ten Commandments, but I came to show you how to fulfill the law. And I think what he was speaking about, and I'll give you some of his examples to make you think, what he was speaking about was not accepting anything less than the best. So fulfilling the law, let's think about that just for a second. The Ten Commandments, we all know them. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, commit adultery. And Jesus took a few of those and gave an example of what accepting less than the best really means. I know we've got educators in the room here. We all know, we were all students at one time, what average means. Average in school, at least when I grew up, was a C. How do you make a C? Well, you can make all C's, or you can make an A, and make an F, and make a B, and make a D, and it all averages out. Jesus talked about that himself. He talked about, thou shalt not kill. That's the 10th commandment. That's average. What's not average is not having malice for someone or wanting to kill them in your heart. He talked about not committing adultery. And that's the law. That's average.
Wow.
The above average is don't look at a woman with lust in your heart.
So good.
So we are in a society where people around us every day, and many of us, have come to the point where we accept being average is okay. Here's why it's not. Number one, if we accept that as part of our thought process in our lives, we accept failure as being okay. Now follow me. I'll work hard in school on this test and I'll ace it. The next one that comes around, I won't worry about it. If I flunk it, it's going to average out. I'll make a C. You don't want to talk to somebody on the phone. They call your house. You tell your wife, tell them I'm not here. And you justify it by saying to yourself and maybe to your God, well, I wasn't really standing right over there at the phone when she said I wasn't here. We get by accepting failure. And we live in a society where everything we see, everything we do is more visible to everyone around us than ever. And we're accepting failure, and that's okay, because we'll make it up somewhere else. I have a friend, a precious man, who for years has or was involved in an adulterous affair. A wife, a great home, 2 beautiful children, and more than once I had a relationship with him where he would allow me to speak into his life occasionally. I told him, man, you are ruining what God has given you. You need to stop this. And his justification for allowing it to happen continually was, you know, I know it's wrong, and I'll pay a price somewhere else. So in his mind, he justified the average way of life. Sure enough, his wife left him. He lost his relationship with his 2 wonderful children. We cannot accept failure as being okay. Now, for a moment, we'll assume everybody here are Christians. We're all Christians. We serve God. Accepting failure is the number 1 reason why we can't accept being average is okay. Number 2 is, do you know that most of us are the only Jesus that our circle of influence, the people that are in it, are ever going to see?
So good.
They look at us. We profess to be Christians. Are we? We have an obligation to them to be Christians, to serve God, and to talk to them about things that are important. We cannot accept failure and do that successfully. And the third and final thing, and I'll move out of the way for J.T. Curtis and Denny Duran, is we've got to raise the bar. We can't expect other people to do it. When I turned 50, I had been an accumulator. I'm a real competitive guy in every area of my life. I like to succeed. I didn't do much of that this year on the football field, but in every other area, I like to do well. And in that competitive spirit, I don't understand when I look around and see people that don't understand unless we move the bar up for our kids and our grandkids, it's going to be moved down. I grew up in a pastor's home in Lafayette, very strict pastor's home. I never went to a movie until I went to college. Never went to a theater until I went to college. Couldn't go to dances. And, you know, I lashed out at my parents for that. But it was a standard that was set, and it wasn't because those things were wrong necessarily in themselves. The whole process and system of allowance and accountability was being poured into me, and I didn't even realize it then. And I'm thankful looking back now that they were that way, because I carried that process on in my own children. Not about not going to movies or not going to dances, but setting absolutes, moving that bar up higher. And in our society, we expect people to do and think things, but we don't put it out there and teach it. I'm thinking generationally now. 58, we're fixing to pass that baton onto the next generation, our children and our grandchildren. If we don't move the bar up and hold it up there above average, average is going to begin to slide. What's acceptable has already begun in our society to slide. The answer to all of this, I am glad to say, is in that personal relationship with Jesus. Every day when I'm in Shreveport, when I'm at home, for 1,000 days, I start every morning at the keyboard at a men's group called The Gate. And some of you know about it here. It's an amazing move of God in which for 1 hour from 6:30 to 7:30, a group of men from all kinds of denominations get together and we hear from God. And I'm not saying that bragging about it, because I'm not that good a person. What we have figured out, those that come through there, and there are probably 300 men that will say they're part of the gate. What we figured out is serving God is just today. Raising that bar is just today. And if we do it today, if we figure out, I can live for God today, that bar in our lives is going to be raised by God moving in us and through us and reaching the worlds that we all live in. And I encourage you today, find a place in your heart. Ask yourself those questions. Are you accepting being average? What's good enough? What are you showing the people that you live with? In your home, where you work? Do they really know you're a Christian? After a loss, and I don't remember which one, there were so many in the locker room, I told these guys that play for us, play their heart out. Don't let today define who you are. It's just one stop on the road of where you're headed. And I just ask you this morning, where are you headed? I appreciate you stopping here with me. I appreciate you letting me share with you this morning. Ken reminded me before I came up here at some point I needed to give a commercial. VooDoo season tickets are on sale. AFLVoodoo.com. Thank you.
Us media guys, we never miss an opportunity. Speaking of the gate, what a wonderful gathering. Life Resources Ministries, which of course is our presenting entity.